pandemic. Just how common is online grooming?
The government insists that child grooming,
sexual grooming.
The concept of grooming children is one of the most horrific and upsetting social issues of our age.
A young woman who suffered emotional and psychological bullying at the hands of her first boyfriend.
And almost always it's an issue linked with sexual abuse.
A young woman from Devon who was stalked on social media when she was just 14 years old.
the scale of the problem has been hugely underestimated.
The threat has evolved.
There is no hiding place for criminals who sexually abuse and exploit children and young people.
Online grooming is not something anyone thinks would happen to them, but the global coronavirus pandemic has shown an alarming trend. Online grooming is increasing.
Online grooming involves the exploitation of a person on an online platform such as Facebook, Instagram or Snapchat, or on a device such as PlayStation or Xbox. It involves a young person or someone in a vulnerable position being forced to do something they're uncomfortable with, such as sending a naked image of themselves. Our names are George and Olive, and today we're entering the scary world of online grooming.
Lockdown has seen a huge increase in online grooming as young people are spending more time on social media. This means there is a huge amount of young people looking for other people to talk to online.
We spoke to a Detective Superintendent, Andrew Collar, to find out more about online sexual abuse.
How often do you see online grooming reaching dangerous levels, including receiving or sending pictures?
Unfortunately, every day. So we have quite a lot of people out there that do exploit the internet for their own purposes of exploiting young people, children, and that can sometimes be people within the same peer group, but there are a lot of adults out there that will seek to identify young people who they can find a way to coerce and manipulate them into perhaps sending images of themselves that once they're out there they lose control of, and in the worst cases even arranging to meet up with them.
Have you noticed any changes or extremes in online grooming in the previous lockdown?
More people are at home. That includes young people themselves and perhaps spending a little bit more time online because there's not so much to do and you can't go out and you're not at school during lockdown. And then I think some offenders have more opportunity because they're spending time online. They may even be working from home and then using some of that time to get online and seek opportunities to exploit people.
As you can see from our interview with Detective Superintendent Andrew Collar, online grooming is a dangerous and ever-growing threat. As he mentioned, there has been a dangerous increase in online grooming all over the UK, and it's become far easier for groomers to access people in lockdown. This is what makes charities such as the Magdalene group so important in the fight against online grooming.
CSE, child sexual exploitation, is a form of sexual abuse and is a term to describe when children or young people are persuaded, forced or deceived into doing sexual things.
We spoke to Deb, a member of the Rose Project from the Magdalene Group, who are a charity based within Norwich that offer a variety of frontline projects aimed at raising awareness and preventing sexual exploitation of women and young people in the hopes to find out more about CSEs and online sexual abuse.
Over lockdown, we've seen an increase in online exploitation referrals. The challenges of lockdown have been unique. Children and young people have faced loneliness, isolation, poor mental health, separation from peers, sometimes stuck in unsafe homes, and there are perpetrators out there ready to meet some of these needs.
And figures suggest online grooming is rising due to young people having an ever-growing amount of social media.
I think it's important to recognise that anyone could be susceptible to online grooming at any age. Perpetrators are very clever, and it's hard to distinguish in the early stages if this is a genuine friendship or someone grooming a child or young person.
While I was in lockdown, I got so bored. I thought it was so messed up that I had to go to school, but that I couldn't meet up with any of my mates. I got an Instagram and TikTok account so I could talk to my mates at home when we would usually have been going out. It helped me feel better about myself when I couldn't see my friends outside of school, and I felt really great when people liked my posts on Insta and TikTok. I started talking to people through Insta. Mainly, I would talk to girls who liked my posts, but our conversations usually drifted off after a couple of days. But one day, I started talking to a girl who commented on one of my posts, and we actually kept on talking. She was quite a bit older than me, and I thought she was really attractive. My dad always asked me what me and my siblings were doing when we were on our phones all the time, but he didn't really know anything about any of the social apps, so it was pretty pointless talking about it.
The more we talked, the more I told her. I could tell her anything. Stuff about dad and him worrying about losing his job, and stupid fights with my mates. I didn't know how bad things were going to get.
Once they have established that contact and messaging has gone from that public space to that private messaging, then that building of relationship could take minutes, hours before it becomes exploitative, or it could take a very long time, and what appears to be a supportive relationship is developed where children and young people are able to share about their experiences and what's going on for them with someone they think cares about them.
Over the next few months, we talked more and more and we got really close.
She started talking about things to do with sex, which was really exciting because my friends always talked about sex and sending nudes, where she wasn't wearing any clothes, and I really wasn't expecting that.
One day though, she asked for a picture of me, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. But she made me feel like I owed her for all the photos she sent me over the last few months. So I did it. At first, it made me feel so good about myself, but as time went on,
I just had this feeling of dread, especially as she started asking for more and more pictures.
Eventually, I began to worry that the pictures I'd sent would be leaked on the internet.
I didn't want to think what my dad and siblings would think if the pictures ever did get out.
I started to feel so depressed. I didn't want to spend time with anyone else because I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone.
I mean, you just don't know who you're dealing with online, and people can put across some very convincing characters, if you like, and will pretend to be somebody who they're not. And I think they should perhaps be looking out for when it's somebody they just do not know in the real world who starts to become their friend and starts to find ways to gain their trust. And that can be for many reasons, that they just stop and they just check themselves and think, actually, who is this person? Why are they showing such interest in me? Ultimately, are they going to want something from me?
Perpetrators use many tactics to exploit and abuse children and young people. They may be really building this relationship and that emotional abuse and coercion around, if you love me, you would send something, maybe withdrawing love and support if a young person refuses. That's very powerful when children and young people are in these relationships.
I knew that I had to tell my dad, and it was at that moment my dad realised something was seriously wrong. I was really scared to tell my dad what was happening. He's always gone on and on about me not talking to strangers online, and I felt embarrassed that I let this happen. I finally decided to tell him about her, and I could tell he was really disappointed in me. He called social services and told them what had happened. I spoke to them on the phone and they put me in contact with the Rose Project at the Magdalene group. I met up with Michelle from the Rose Project,
who listened to me and helped me to see what she did was wrong and it wasn't my fault.
She also spoke to my dad and helped him to understand my experience, which made him much more understanding and supportive towards me.
There's also a lot of information out there for children and young people themselves. Childline website is an amazing resource, and CEOP also have, which is the Child Exploitation Online Protection, they have anonymous reporting as well. So if a child or young person is worried about something online, that they can report it anonymously through the CEOP website. We have a booklet for children and young people on our website with more information about CSE and some signs and what to do if you're worried or need some more support. So there are some great resources out there. The most important thing for a child or young person to do if they are worried that they are being exploited or groomed, or that someone they know is to talk to a trusted adult.
Hopefully we have made the dangers of online grooming painfully apparent so that any young people who may be watching don't fall victim to people who may be wanting to do you harm.
If you ever see something online that makes you feel worried or nervous for your safety, then contact one of the numbers on screen or click on one of the websites shown.